want to talk a little bit about casting today and the common misconceptions that you see about everywhere on the internet. If you've been on any like Unreal Engine video or forum post or whatever, people tell you to avoid casting like the plague. And while that is initially good advice and comes from a place of wanting to help people, it is then often misunderstood without its reasoning and context and just applied as a blanket casting is bad, don't do it, which obviously is ridiculous because it is a functionality that exists in the programming language. It should just be used within the contexts that it is good to be used. The issue comes in with a lot of beginning Unreal Engine users, very similar to the event tick function. People just throw all their code into event tick because that's the easiest way to get things to work. But of course, a lot of things in event tick is a horrible way to go about doing things because that'll run every frame. And similarly, communicating between different classes, just doing that through casting is a quick and easy way when you're just getting into Unreal Engine. But then you hear, hey, casting isn't that good. You don't quite understand why, but you try to start avoiding it, and before you know it, you're telling other people that casting is bad without actually understanding why. So let's clear that up right here today, why it is bad, but more importantly, when it is all right to do so. Casting is bad. I'm just going to cast to, for instance, I don't know, I have a level door. Just having this node in this blueprint means that whenever the BP Reaper boss, which is this boss fight that I'm currently working on live streams, whenever this thing exists, whenever it is loaded, it will also load anything that it is casting to into memory. Even if that object doesn't actually exist within the level, it will load it into memory. When you want to use them, they should already be available in memory for a split-second action to be able to occur. So the moment you load any class, anything it casts to is also going to be loaded into memory for ease of access. We call that a hard reference, right? If you've seen my video about hard references and soft references, that goes much more into that, and it also supplies you with a way to make references that don't do that and that have to manually be loaded in when you actually want to use them only. And specifically for using blueprints, it's a little bit annoying, even though this is not even hooked up to anything, right? This doesn't connect to anything. Just this node existing here is creating a hard reference to it. So that is why casting is usually seen as bad, because specifically what ends up happening a lot is if I go into my player character over here, into the event graph, a lot of beginners will do a lot of their programming from the player class or the player controller or whatever, and then start casting all over the place to a bunch of different things, all from their player. And that means that whenever that player gets loaded, everything it casts to is also getting loaded. And I don't know if you've played any video games lately, but usually your player character will be pretty much loaded the entire time through the entire game, because that is the thing you're playing as. Meaning that everything that you're casting to inside of your player is also always going to be loaded in memory, even if you're not at the moment using it remotely. So here's a little exception, because I am in my player character and I am casting, but I'm casting to the game mode. And in my case, I only have one game mode. If you have like a different type of game, like you're making a shooter game, you have like a zombies game mode and a capture the flag game mode and whatever, you might want to be a little bit more careful with this, because sometimes you may be in a game mode that is not action RPG game mode. And you don't want to have to load that entire game mode into memory. For my game specifically, and this is kind of where we get into the nuance of, hey, we're programmers, we have to like understand things and make decisions. I, as the programmer, understand that this game's only ever going to have one game mode. So whenever this player character exists, the game mode also being loaded into memory is not a problem, because the game mode is always anyway gonna be in memory because I've only got the one. So that just gives me an easy way to communicate between the game mode and the player in this case. And in a very similar way, casting from the player controller to the player or the other way around, as long as you as a programmer are aware that you're only going to have that one player character or that one player controller, that is fine. There's going to be a lot of contexts where you have a controller that can control multiple different kinds of enemies that are not necessarily even inheriting from the same class or whatever, in which case obviously be a little bit more careful with your casting. But if you, like me, have a game where you have one player character with one player controller, casting back and forth between the two of them is fine, because they're always going to be loaded as a pair of objects anyway. To give you another good example, I've got two more quick examples to show you why this matters. Because we've got the player here, which of course has a skeletal mesh, which is of course, as usual, being driven by a animation blueprint, which we have open here. And the first thing the event graph in the animation blueprint does is, of course, because we're making a video about casting, you probably figured out cast to the action RPG project character, which is a very bad name for a class. If we go through this, this is an animation blueprint that gets loaded when the BP third person character gets loaded, because it says on this mesh, use this animation blueprint. So this class is the thing loading this animation blueprint. So then the animation blueprint saying, hey, also load that class into memory, the thing that literally just spawned me in, doesn't really do anything. It's kind of like if you have like a family function or whatever, and all the parents can bring their children, that's fine. But then saying the children cannot bring their parents. That doesn't make sense, because if the parents can bring their children, obviously the children's parents are also already present, and that's kind of what is going on here as well. Let's take a real quick break to talk about today's sponsor, NordVPN. And when I say a real quick break, I really mean it. All I'm going to say is if you want 70% off your first 2 years of NordVPN, there's a link down below in the description that you can use. That's it. Let's move on with the actual video. One last example that is a little bit less clear-cut maybe for a lot of people than this animation thing, because I feel like this should make sense. We have a boss fight that I've been working on here, right? This is my Skeleton Reaper boss fight. Been working on this guy for a couple of months on stream. You can go check that out if you want to. But my game works with a plugin called the Gameplay Ability System. There's an entire course for it on my channel if you're interested in learning it. It requires a little bit of C++. But what that does is it lets you put gameplay abilities such as special attacks or even things like healing yourself, that kind of thing, into their own little classes and objects, so that you don't have to put a bunch of code all inside this Reaper boss. Just to compartmentalize that code a little bit easier and potentially make it a little bit more reusable. It's really, really cool. But that also then means that I can freely cast from those abilities. Like we have an ability right here somewhere. I probably should actually remove this casting note that I put there as an example. Here we have it. This is the base class for all of the other attack animations for the Reaper, specifically for the Reaper. And in there, I cast to the Reaper boss, because this ability is an object that is getting spawned in by the Reaper boss. It is not a physical object in the world or whatever, it's not an actor, but nonetheless, this gets created when the Reaper boss decides to do this attack. So the Reaper boss poofs this thing into existence. So it is kind of like a child of the Reaper boss in the analogy that I used before. So it can very easily cast to the thing that we know as programmers that is going to create it anyway. And here we have a behavior tree task that casts to the enemy. And this behavior tree task is a BT task do ability. So this is a task that I can use in a behavior tree. So if we have a behavior tree right here, we've got do ability, right? This is a thing that I can put on an enemy's behavior tree in order for it to do an ability. This task is only ever going to be on behavior trees that run behavior for enemies. That is the entire point of these behavior trees and this task to begin with, to run an ability that the enemy possesses. So we can safely cast to this enemy, because whenever we run a behavior tree on something, that is going to be an enemy. And if we're running a behavior tree on something, for instance, that is not an enemy, for whatever reason, it might be something else, we're not going to be using this task. So it's entirely fine to cast to that. You might be saying, but it still would be better to use an interface, right? Why would you cast here instead of using an interface? We can just make an interface that says, hey, return the enemy pointer, the enemy reference, so you can avoid casting. And no, that actually doesn't save you anything. It is a bit more work for you to get more or less the same result, because if you've seen my soft reference and hard references video, you will know that even just having a variable or an output, or an input for that matter, doing anything to do with this specific class will create that hard reference. It's not just adding a casting node. So if we make a interface that would return this same type of reference as its functionality, that is essentially just creating your own casting node. You're not gaining anything by doing that, instead of wasting some of your time. Now, that said, you could very much make an interface that instead of returning this enemy value, returns the ability system components that we are getting out of this, and then you preclude the need for having the enemy reference in there altogether. That would potentially save you loading that enemy into memory. Except for the thing that I've been showing you throughout this entire video, is that whenever this task is getting executed anyway, the enemy is the thing executing this task. So it's gonna be in memory already, so don't worry about it. So to finish off here, as a general rule of thumb, when an actor spawns something in, the spawned in thing can cast to the thing that spawned it in. It's all about context and what makes sense in what scenario. So as a general rule, I would say, for instance, that casting to your player character from pretty much any other place in your code is fine, because this player character is going to be in memory always anyway. Casting from your player to other things for the exact same reason, because your player is always in memory, is then more potentially a big issue, because of course that means that the other assets or classes that you're referencing are also always going to be in memory. Now, this entire thing about referencing and deciding whether or not something is worth doing a workaround for is very context dependent. It's one of the cornerstones of what a decent programmer should be doing in making their decisions about managing their resources. But do not forget that we have effectively 3 resources as a programmer: computing, memory, and time. Computing and memory are pretty self-explanatory. Computing is the amount of computational instructions that a action or a function takes. Memory is the amount of memory that we're using to do it. And then we've got our own time. There's only so much that you can do within a given hour of working on your game. And if something doesn't significantly save either your computational power or your memory, and you're spending time on it, you are losing out on one resource without gaining the other 2. And that is what is happening a lot with people that seem to not entirely understand casting. They go out of their way to avoid casting altogether, wasting their time without actually getting anything back for it. Now, far be it from me to say you should be casting all over the place, every class should cast to every other class because casting is just easy. Obviously not. Obviously not. But when you decide to not use a cast, think about that decision. Make it a decision instead of your default go-to. Think about it, decide whether or not you want to use a cast here, and then move on. That decision can take a second to make. It doesn't need to be a thing that you think about for a week. But at least give it a little bit of brain power to make that active decision to do it, rather than just always defaulting to, oh, I'll use an interface and I'll spend 2 minutes doing that. Doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do that 100 times, you've now wasted 200 minutes, which is 3 hours of your work, which you could have spent on other stuff. And a very big thank you to all of my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help out supporting the channel, there's a link down below in the description to the Patreon page. And a special thanks to my Cave Digger tier Patreons: Sir J. Thomas,